Well, welcome to this new edition. Today, I'm going to talk about find your career goals. And I'm really excited to have a few of you watching this webinar. If it's your first time here, welcome to Google Digital Garage training session. Before we get stuck into the session and the heart of the topic, I'm going to explain you a little bit how everything works. So today is an interactive session. It means I'm definitely live, and it's your opportunity to participate as well in this activity. So it means that you can get involved, you can participate, and really participate within the chat area. With me today, I'm going to have a moderator. So let's introduce ourselves. It will be simpler, and you can address us by our name. And yeah, it's going to be very friendly in the chat. So my name is Francois, as you can see on my name. I'm a trainer, one of the trainer for Google's free skills program that we call Google Digital Garage. Remember to go on the website because it's an amazing source of lots of skills training as well. So a bit about myself first. I'm a digital consultant and trainer, and as well as having a background in online collaboration, I have been working in digital marketing and for large and small corporation in Europe, in the US, in the UK as well, where I'm based in the past 20 years. And what I discovered is that I love more and more to share what I learned, and that's why I'm here today. And today, as I said, I'm also joined by, you already said hello in the chat, I can see, by our fantastic moderator and facilitator called Naha. So Naha is going to be here in the chat with you so she can actually answer your question and help you with any kind of question you have related to this presentation. If you have other questions not related directly to this, you can try and we will do our best, but it's very much likely to be centered in the find your career goals. Okay, so before we get started, I want to have a little bit call out on things to help you today. So, firstly, if you are having trouble watching this webinar, just click refresh on your laptop, on your computer, and things should get better quite quickly. It's very common with internet, just refresh your browser and it should get better. We are going to have a few pauses, so it means that while I'm presenting, I will have some slides exactly to pause, look at the questions we may have in the chat, and just help you going forward for your career goals. So just to let you know as well, this virtual training that we are offering is live today, but you can watch it in the next 24 hours. So if you don't have time to write things, to read what it says on the slide, please come back to it. And within the next 24 hours, you can continue watching it. All right, so we've done a bit of housekeeping. So let's get started on finding your career goals. So today we're going to go through these three topics. We are going to look at why are you here, and what is it about career goals? How do you define them? Then we're going to help you with an approach. So what is the session is going to be like, the approach to find career goals, and then does it pay off, right? So what is it that you have to take away at the end of this session? And first, I would love to have a little bit of interaction as well. So in the chat, as I'm talking and introducing, please go ahead and just enter your name. I can already say hello to, I'm sorry about the name. If I get it wrong, I'm going to say hello to Harjit and then Nishan, who just joined us. So just explain us a little bit, why are you here regarding career? So one of you already explained about digital marketing. That's a great topic and career path to go into. I know what I'm talking about in digital marketing, sorry. And then Nishan, what do you think? Why are you looking at career path? And to help you further, if you are UK based, you can actually register to the free career certificate available from Google. So if you just type this address in a browser, you'll be able to learn more about career, Google Career Certificate, and then download it when you have finished, which is always useful to add to your CV, to your cover letter, etc. Okay, so Next question in the chat. Think back to when you were the most fulfilled in a job. And maybe you didn't have a job yet, so fine. Think about when you were feeling that you were really, really fulfilled at the end of the day. You felt that you were really accomplished. So take a moment to think about your previous job and your previous maybe volunteering. So as I said, if you didn't have a job before, think about the time you were helping someone, the time you were helping an uncle, an auntie doing an activity. Maybe they ask us to help in the shop, to help in their moving company, something like this. So questions you may ask yourself: what were you doing exactly? What was happening around you and in you when you had this activity that you really felt that you were quite happy and fulfilled? How much of this fulfillment was about money? Maybe the fulfillment was just that you were receiving a special salary for it. Of course, it can also be fulfilling. So think of the time that you were doing it in the past, and then your present time of your current activity, maybe. So we are always giving numbers and statistics, and it's interesting to see that. So in the UK, 3 out of 10 workers do not believe that they have good prospect for career development. It means that 3 people out of 10 just think that they can't progress. They can't go anywhere, even if they're not quite happy with their current job, right? They're just like, oh, I'm just going to stay there. So when we consider that this number, can we actually afford to fall into the statistics? Can you afford to be the 3 people out of 10? So we're going to help you by explaining this methodology that we use to evaluate the fulfilling job. So there are 3 key elements to a job that you may find fulfilling. The first one is doing something that you enjoy, something that you really find pleasure into doing. The next one is something that you are good at. So think about what are your strengths, what are your skills into doing something, and you realize people told you that you're actually quite good at doing this. And the third one is finding something that people value, because of course, if nobody really value what you are doing, it's not going to help you much into doing this job. Nobody will want it. So how do we find the right spot into being in the middle? So imagine that the sweet spot, as I said already, is going to be right in the center here. So we want to be in the center of enjoying doing something, being good at, and then having something that people value. So today we're going to investigate the 3 areas in turns, and we're going to put you on the path of finding that career that will allow you to find the fulfillment. There are lots of ways to look at career fulfillment, but this particular theory has been inspired by a special method. And the method is called Ikigai. Ikigai. It's Ikigai. And I really advise you to click on the link that you're going to see in a few seconds, because it's a really amazing concept, and it will basically define it. It's a Japanese concept, and it's just a meaning of being alive, of being, or it actually means alive and life. So it combines the alive with benefit. And when you combine it together, it just means that it gives life worth, meaning, or we could say in French, because I'm French, it would be the raison d'être. Raison d'être is like reason for being. So find your reason for being in accomplishing your work and therefore your next career move. So obviously we have to also earn money to survive, right? We all have bills to pay and we want to have an enjoyment of life. But once we earn past the base level, we need to buy the basics. So the very minimum, which is always food, water, shelter. What else motivates us? Is it really just the money, or it could be something else? And the something else could be actually maybe performance, and things like, how do we strive to do good at work? So things like this. It's like there must be other motivator than just the money. And recognition is one of them that is really important. And I'm going to show you this slide. It says posing for questions. So usually it's a little bit early for questions. So it would be just an introduction for now, telling you that we still have 2 more poses later. This session is actually not so much full of information. I would say it's a really good information pack, but we have enough time. So I just encourage you to go in the chat and ask questions as we go along. So the screen for question will look exactly like this in a few more slides. Okay, so we looked at something you enjoy doing. We know that we need to do something that we enjoy. So how do we find that? Because sometimes it's kind of puzzling as well. I may enjoy a lot of things, but which one can I take for my career move? Well, doing an exercise may help you. So we're going to do this exercise all together. If you grab a pen and paper or on your computer, you can write a few things that I'm going to ask you so that we can find out what you really like doing. All right, first exercise, we're going to pick out the words and phrases that describe things you enjoy. So of course I may ask you, like, just think of words, keywords of things you enjoy. So you may write things like football and tennis and things like this. But actually, you're going to see that some people have been doing lots of work of defining words and phrases that describe things that generally people like doing. And that's really amazing because you will see that you may find your activity within this. So this one has been created in the 1970s. This list of keywords, and they are a list of. It doesn't come just out of a hat. They are really list of different things that people tend to enjoy from work. So they've been a very thorough analysis, and they realized that the commonality of 500 people together may be summarized into this list. So they are based on the work of Professor Edgar Schein, and this professor has been working on this, as I said, since the 70s, and he's been tested and well tested everywhere. So I'm going to ask you to look at these phrases and think about your own work and what do you enjoy doing. And again, if you haven't been working yet, or you have taken a break for a while, just think of helping people, maybe working with people, and what is the things that you actually enjoyed. So I'm going to wait a little bit to see if we have some answers, but the next step will actually be to continue working on these phrases. So first step, you look at all this and you try to pick the one that you can relate to. Okay. The next step now, we're going to take the same words, same phrases, and we're going to pick only top. So previously, you may have seen this and said, oh yeah, I recognize myself in most of them. So 8 or 7 or 6 of them. Now I'm going to ask you to filter it down so that you only pick the top 3. And from the top 3, I'm going to ask you now to rank them. So the step 2 is rank them. So it means you sort them by priority. So for instance, you may say that organizing people is something that is your priority. It really gives you satisfaction and you love to see people are getting better after they've spoken to you. Maybe the next one is going to be having ideas. You've been known for having lots and lots of ideas. So I can see in the chat that people have been saying designing things. Yes, so designing could be within this list. This list is generic for everybody. So if designing things is your top comfort, you could be maybe being an expert. You are an expert into designing things. It could be something like this. Helping others could be into the solving problems. So you are actually really good at helping. So let's pick the 3 of them, and then we're going to rank them. So next, pick out the phrases again, but you describe what you do now and what you have done previously. So you have the list, think of the doing now and doing previously. So you could put a little symbol next to them and say, this one, I've done it before and I'm not really doing it now. Or maybe I don't enjoy it now, but I used to enjoy it. So you can find out maybe why you have changed a little bit. So go back to this list and try to select you actually do in the current role and then write them down again. That's great. I can see that some consistency in the chat as well. All right. So last step, think about the differences now, because we looked at the current list and then your ideal list. So it means that you have a list of your top 3. That's the one you wanted to do. So what is now the difference between your current list of activities that you really enjoy doing, and what is the one you would like to really be enjoying doing? So for instance, in the conversation, we have connecting with people. So if connecting with people, helping people is something you really ideally would like to see on top of your list, but you look at your doing now and it doesn't have this helping people because maybe you don't have time, or maybe your current job doesn't give you the opportunity. So you can see what is the differences and maybe try to implement it and move towards this career in the future. So like I was saying, we may have some questions. So now we have another pause for questions. If we don't, I'm just going to look in the chat and be really satisfied that you guys are having a great engagement in the chat and chatting with Na as well. Thank you for sharing your top 3. That's really great. Thank you, Eliak. So top 3, ideating, designing, yeah, collaborating. That's really great. And now, did you pick your top 3 that you want to do as opposed to the one that you're currently doing? Excellent. Yes, I can see. That's really good, because you're saying that, well, I'm collaborating with children and volunteers, and maybe I want to go beyond that and balancing work-life balance. How do I find this? All right, let's move on to the next step now. Well, now that you know what you like doing, what you really enjoy, what are you good at? Because what you enjoy may not be yet what you're good at. So we're going to do an exercise again, but before the exercise, let's explore how we can find out and what kind of pitfall we may have when we look at what we are good at. Because being good at could be perceived as your own self-exploration. You think you're good at something, but is it the reality, right? So let's give you some tips on finding out if you're really good. All right, so look at this chart. This chart is we didn't just create it like this because it looks good. It's actually a whole concept, and it's called the Dunning-Kruger concept. So this methodology is looking at how our perception of our abilities may change as we have more experience. So example here, we are on the very first step of our knowledge, of our confidence in a competence, in a skill that we are doing. And of course, if it's the very first step, we just registered on a website to learn something online, it means we know nothing, right? So we are at the very point on the bottom left. We are at the known level. We have no competence and we have no confidence in the skill, in the material, maybe. So it means that it's the most basic one. That's great. But this curve, as you can see, is going to go like this. So let's look at the next step. The next step is that imagine that now you have learned something. So you've learned about a skill, but maybe you are just at the very first few hours, the beginning of your journey of learning. So you've learned something, but it's very small, right? Everybody could admit that and could accept that it's very small. However, for you, you feel that you are amazing confidence in these skills. You think fantastic because you can ping one chord of a guitar. Maybe you are doing a sum on a spreadsheet. Maybe you are mastering how to use grammar, spell check on a word editor. So you think like, oh my God, this new learning for me is amazing. So I'm super confident. It still means that you don't have a lot of competence yet. But the reality is that you don't have enough yet to know how much more you have to learn. So the Dunning-Kruger effect explains that people who are in the lower percentile of the ability, so they are still on the very top left, they don't have a lot of ability, but they tend to overestimate their abilities. And that's really a risk, and that's a pitfall, because we may feel so confident and go for a career path, but we are not ready. So how do we address that? Well, ideally, at some point, we're going to continue learning, and we're going to work the opposite way as well. So what it means is that this curve here, at some point, we're going to become better. So we are in the middle. We are in the average of the skills. So we are actually not the expert yet, and we don't have zero knowledge. So we are getting some knowledge. However, our confidence suddenly is lowering. Why did the confidence lower? And that's what they observed when they were analyzing people's learning and behavior and feeling, that actually the confidence is going to lower. So it's really interesting to know about this, because you will realize that you can compensate this and you can work on this. So maybe it's lowering because you now know enough to master a skill, but you also know that other people can be as good as you are, and you know how far they're going to go. So then you become less confident. You're kind of panicking, basically. And then finally, you may become an expert. You become like very certified. You have lots of reputation, and your clients and friends and all that, they all know that you are amazing in this skill. And the confidence is coming back, and you truly understand your strength. So you finally, you have to look outside to understand yourself, because it's other people and peers that are going to tell you how good you are. So this curve is quite interesting to understand. So now let's do an exercise so that we can see how to recognize your own ability. So we're going to look at a practical exercise to identify your strength very simply. So the first step, I would say, is that you pick 3 people that you know well. So just like we were doing, if you have a document you're writing and you want someone to have a second opinion on your writing, just make sure that you pick someone that you trust, that you know. So maybe a friend, a neighbor, someone at work. But I would say avoid having a very too close family member, because family members love you and they also love your faults. They will always cherish you, and they may not be quite helpful into telling you how great you are for real, because they find you great everywhere. And then you're going to have some I statements. So I statement would be starting with I, and you think about, let's say, imagine that you're speaking to one of these person that you picked. You speak to them, and they know you well. So you're going to ask them question, and they will tell you, I always ask you, so Francois, for help with. So they will answer you lots of questions like this. So you said, what do you ask for help? And they will answer you exactly what you are good at. And it could be things like, yeah, Francois knows a lot about digital marketing. You can always ask Francois for more knowledge about computer science and things like this. So questions that you wrote down may help you to understand what good person, what good skills you are. So I'm just going to forward to the next slide. The next slide is going to give you lots of ideas about the sort of things that I mean when you are asking people. So again, they may tell you like completing things is something that you are known for. You are known for using your hand. You are very good at using your hand. I always ask Terry to help me find new ideas, to help me with data. So have a look at this slide. It has lots and lots of information, I know. And as I said, you may not have time to write everything down. We will let you play this webinar again for the next 24 hours. So you have time to write them down. I'm going to look at the questions now so that I can leave this screen a little bit more, because the next slide is posing for question. I should have a drum roll to that. So we have a question from Arjit. Should we choose roles or company according to things that we like to do? That's a great question, because one of the slides is exactly that. It was the very first step. is do something you like doing. If you are in, and remember of the statistics, it was 3 people out of 10 believe that they cannot move their career, but they don't really enjoy what they are doing. So you definitely need to do to pick a role and a company where you can do things that you like doing. Okay. No next question for now. Na is doing a great job in the chat. Thank you so much. So once you know all your good values, you know what you like doing, how about something that people value? Because it's not just about you. You need to find things that other people like. So of course, you already asked your friends and family, and they told you that you are good at doing things. So it means they like already what you are doing for them. They like the values that you bring. But now we have to look at the market. In the market for your career path, is there someone somewhere who will be happy to pay for your services? Because of course, at the end of the day, we still need to have a salary. And to do that, we're going to go through some examples. It's good to see real life story, and you can definitely Google these people that I'm going to put on the screen and see where they are, what is their website, and things like this. So let's take this example. I'm going to share a few stories with you. These people have found what they were looking for, even though they were in a different job before, and they didn't know that they could actually do what they loved. So this is the first example of Abigail. Abby worked in technology before for a large entertainment business, and she wasn't fully fulfilled. She knew that something was missing. And the thing is, she used to make cakes. She used to bake cakes to bring to her colleagues. And the cakes were so good that she was encouraged by some of them to say, you should just make it a business. She did. She decided to start her own business. So as I said, Google her. The business is now based in Edinburgh, and she used Google Digital Garage to have advice on her digital marketing to be more visible on the web, to have an online presence. And now she's been baking cakes. You see that her website has an online order, and she turned this into this skill hobby, this passion, this side passion she had, or weekend project. She turned it into a living. Abigail has just started digital training with Google so that she can help find new customers, and her business is now more visible, and she's thriving into sending more cakes to customers. Let's look at Claire and Rachel now. Claire and Rachel, they were friends, and they were thinking of a way beyond what they currently did. One was actually a barrister. The other one was a sonographer. You know, the little person who actually put ultrasound scans on your heart or on your belly, really. And they decided to start their own business and do something very different. They decided to start a wedding supply and wedding planner business. They both attended Digital Garage one-on-one session, and they also learned about writing for social media. They also joined the Introduction to Digital Marketing course. They learned about how to start your own business online, all this through free training at Digital Garage. And now they're running their business into wedding planning. So it's feasible, they're enjoying what they do, and that makes a big change into their career. Shakil's story is amazing because if you check him on LinkedIn, you'll see how many thousands of connections he has. He is a proper networker, and that's what he did. He was like, he works in HR, and in HR, you don't have to always be a networker. So he was a director for a company, and he decided to pivot and build his own business as a solopreneur, we call it. And in the past 6 months, he's made a big effort and improved his online profile, expanded his network. Now he's got even more, a lot more than 1,500 connections. And he's duplicated this, really increased his for he All right, we are back online and I'm going to do my best to recover. Yeah, so my computer just crashed basically, so technology is fantastic. I'm going to go back to our stories and I'm checking we are all online and we still didn't lose you. Thank you so much for hanging in here and we are resuming. Computer managed to restart very quickly. Okay, so Shakil's story. I'm sure some of you have Googled it and he's amazing. Let's go to the next slide. So now that you understand that, yes, some people have done it and they really enjoy what they have done online by learning new skills, they can create their own business, right? So it's a great way to, by giving you all this exercise of like thinking, what do I love doing? What are my values? What are people valuing me for? And it's a really great way to just find your next career path. So consider how you could have this little homework exercise. I'm going to give you this one, a few questions that you can see on the screen. So think of it as which job profession requires what you've got. So you are a unique individual, you have unique skills. Think of it of like, what could be, there must be a job, a profession that is going to need your special skills. What business could use these skills? Which group of people might be able to pay for what you do, of course? And by thinking of all this, you think of like, what is the value? What values you are bringing to them? So right now I'm going to ask you to write down all these answers, because you're going to see that later you may use it so that you can defend and organize your career path. Tools that you could use. There are lots of tools online. Of course, have you looked for work using an online job search before? So you can use Google simply. You just type job in creative industry, job as an infographist, things like this, and you will find results. And it will very likely guide you to Google Job Board. Google Job Board is an amazing tool because it's going to federate. The term federate means it will bring you lots of application from different websites. So you don't have to visit all of them. They are all present on Google Job Board. So if you're wondering if there is a value of using all these websites, well, there is, because all these websites that help you to find, that will list all the advertised job in the UK on their own site, it means that they are centralizing and they are filtering already for you. And then once you see the list of application of job offer on one site, you can therefore filter even more. You can see on the screenshot on the left that you could filter by just keywords, by category, by industry. So you can filter only if you want to work in science and engineering. You click on this, it will show you only the jobs that are listed there. On the right hand side, you can see lots of sites. The first one, of course, you recognize is LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, you need to be. That will be where you can have the most opportunities, and you will also join groups that have the same interest as you, the same skills. Charity Job is a great site for volunteering opportunities and vocational work. And it actually says it when you open the website, it will be do a job that you like and that is fulfilling. It's exactly what we need to do for Career Move. And then Do IT is a great platform to connect volunteer opportunities and include options for remote volunteering. So you don't have to always do volunteering on site, you can also do remote. So make sure that you use all these great platforms, because there are amazing ways to look for jobs and opportunity, and many can be across so many multiple industries, but some are going to be specific. So this is only examples. You will find other websites that are very specific to your industry. Okay, so setting steps to reach your goal. We want to make sure that you understand that having a career path, a new career path, changing your career is all about having goals. That's the title of the session today. Find your career goals. And to do that, you need to define them in a timeline. So for instance, today it means maybe I'm going to register on LinkedIn. If there's one thing you do, it could be the one today. Then next week, what you're going to do, next month, and then this year, and maybe at the end of this year, what you're planning to do. So despite all this technical problem, I did tell you that this session is a lot of self-reflection. So you need to really understand what is your career goals so that you can move on and maybe go to the next step, which is going to be applying. So it means let's look at questions, and then we're going to see what we can do to continue helping you. We do have no additional question, and I think the chat has been going on because I was away. Usually it's quite interesting because if I go off screen for 20 seconds, that actually makes the chat very lively, which is really, really good. So what is the next step now? Now that you have watched this session on finding your career goals, you're like, okay, I understand now. To get my new career move, I need to understand what I want, what I'm good at, and what people want, what people are going to value in my skills, because otherwise businesses are not going to be interested by your very rare skills. So that's all great. But what could you do next? Well, the first thing you may do is to book an appointment with a Google Digital Garage coach if you're in the UK. But also you can register on the free career certificates, which I mentioned earlier. You will get training for IT support, project management, and lots of digital skills. If you want to learn how to make graphics, that will be the place. If you want to learn how to manipulate data and make sense of data, if you want to start learning about AI and have a minimum concept of it, go to Google/CareerSet UK. And as I said, this presentation is going to an end. We don't have many questions, so we managed to fast track it. Thank you so much for attending today, and I wish you a great day. Thank you, and have a good day. Bye-bye.